Next Generation is a spin-off on the original television series called Star Trek. Star Trek The Next Generation came out in 1987. Season 4 was called the Pinch Melt season, where great episodes came from. This one is called the Drumhead, and basically is based on an ancient court called Drumheads, where summaries were carried out of the drum, and punishments were severe, and appeals were denied.
Isn't it supposed to be military?
It was military. What happened was their engine exploded, and they found a traitor who was sending top secret information to the Federation's enemies called the Romulans. And then what later happened was that this admiral, who was played by Jane Simmons, basically orchestrated this all other trial. One person was found out that his grandfather was a Romulan, and he refused to.
I thought he already knew and was trying to hide it. He lied.
That's correct.
He lied on his Federation or Starfleet application and said that his grandfather was
a Vulcan.
By the way, if you don't know, the Vulcans and the Romulans are actually a related species that splintered off each other at some point in their history.
Exactly, and if you want to know more about that splintering, there is a book series. I can't remember what the name was, what it's called, but it does explain the Romulan-Vulcan separation and the Romulans' trips to Romulus. But basically, a person was declared guilty by association, I think you could say, mostly because he refused to answer a question.
Oh yes, Simon Tarsus is the character we're talking about, and his reluctance was answering the question because he was afraid somebody would find out his grandfather was Romulan and discriminate against him based on that. His guilt by association is that he worked in the med bay and he treated the saboteur medically.
No, not saboteur. He just gave the information to the Romulans.
The espionage.
What basically we find out is that this was basically fatigue on the engine. However, the Admiral doesn't care. She holds more trials. Eventually, the captain of the Enterprise is put on trial, played beautifully by Sir Patrick Stewart, and he gives several great speeches, and we find out that the Admiral is kind of played in the cuckoos, and the trial is suspended. Basically, this is a perfect example of what happened in 1692 in Salem, Massachusetts. 20 people were hanged, and one person was actually crushed to death. It was famously called the Salem Witch Trials. And in the 1950s, a person by the name of Joseph McCarthy, not to be confused with Kevin McCarthy, who's the Speaker of the House today, but Senator Joseph McCarthy said that he had this list of known communist sympathizers or communist spies. Now, nobody knows what was actually on this list. For all we know, his communist spies and sympathizers was butter, eggs, and milk. But it created a whole reign of panic called the Red Scare. And we see stuff like that, I would say, even today with transgenders. I mean, we had a person who was bullied in the bathroom because this woman has short hair, and so the person who was bullying her thought that it was a male.
Yes, because people have just gone stupid at this point.
Basically, it's like...
Short hair is not a new thing.
No, it's not. My mom even has short hair, and nobody ever thought she was a male.
My mom always had short hair too. Even as a teenager, see that picture over there.
Yes. And my son has long hair, but that does not make him a female.
No, it does not. It just means that he does not want anybody touching his hair.
Exactly. And like I said, paranoia is fear, and paranoia basically does bring out the worst in people, as we found out from this Admiral, as we find out from the person who called Worf, who is actually a Klingon who used to be an enemy of the Federation but became allies. And Worf is played perfectly by a guy named Michael Dorn. And we're going to see one of his quotes right now where he's basically saying that because Tarsus will not answer a question, that automatically assumes his guilt, as we had a president who actually said the same thing until he pled fifth about 300 times.
Yeah, well, and Worf is getting into that psychological condition that definitely affects humans. They have research on it where you've got this kind of mass hysteria going on like they had in the Salem Witch Trial.
Exactly. So we're going to play this clip for you because Carr has a perfect retort. So
the Federation does have enemies. We must seek them out. That's how it starts. The road from legitimate suspicion to rampant paranoia is very much shorter than we think. Something is wrong here, Mr. Wolf. I don't like what we have become.
So as you can see, or hear, Picard is right. The road to rampant paranoia begins with legitimate suspicion. We did have a legitimate suspicion when it comes to the Salem witch trials, we just assumed that the people who started the paranoia actually just probably ate some bad bread. And so they convulsed, they said the things, and people started had legitimate fears. I mean, it would be a legitimate fear that there was something wrong with the food. However,
but that's not what people's go-to was back then, which is why it escalated into, I'm being cursed. This person must be to blame because they appeared in my dreams. Unfortunately, that's not, how the world actually works.
No, it's not. And basically, that was because at the time, the United States was not even formed. Like I said, it was in 1692. So they relied on stuff called sexual evidence. And basically, you are correct. It is, this person appeared in my dream, or this person came to me in the vision. And that was all the evidence you needed to have a conviction, and most likely a hanging or a crushing, as Charles Corey found out.
And it rapidly became less of, I think this happened to me or my child, and hey, I can do this to get that person's land or to get revenge on them for some slight they did.
Exactly. That is once again the road to legitimate suspicion, to rampant paranoia, to hey, I could get revenge.
Take advantage of
or take advantage of.
Yeah.
And also with the Red Scare, there was a legitimate concern of communism in America, which unfortunately, however, people take advantage all the time when it comes to that. There's legitimate fears to a lot of things that people just basically say.
Unscrupulous people will take advantage and try to manipulate the situation in their favor. We've seen it in the past. It's part of history, and you see it here because the Admiral wants to make a name for herself to live up to her father's reputation, which she is obsessed with her father in this. And you see it now too. There are people that want to manipulate legitimate things, blow them out of proportion, and take advantage of the situation to gain something for themselves.
Mostly political power, and we do see that even today. Like I said, all of a sudden people who have long hair are considered women, people who have short hair are considered men, and if a woman has short hair, God forbid. Or
you saw that old man at a kid's soccer game, I think his own grandkids, upset because his grandchild's team leaving and then getting a little girl in tears, saying that it wasn't a legitimate win because the little girl had short hair, so she had to be transgender. He had that poor kid in tears. I hope her mom just sues the shit out of him so he has nothing left.
Well, if it was my kid, I guarantee you lawsuit would be the least of his problems.
Oh yeah, you hurt my kid, you're gonna pay the price.
Exactly. And my daughter has short hair and my son has long hair, so
Actually, currently, I think they're about the same length, weirdly enough.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's because my daughter always has her hair up, and it just looks shorter. But yeah, you touch my kid and you're gonna have problems. And there is no legitimate suspicion on anything when it comes to gender dysphoria or transgenderism. I mean, it's not like it's not like the same as the communists, but people use it. People are still using it for their political advantage. They're using fear, they're using paranoia, they're using people's anger.
They're making people angry. That's the thing, though. It's not like something happened and the fear was legitimate at some point. They're literally inventing this stuff to cause it and then take advantage of it.
Exactly, and like I said, for me, there is no legitimate suspicion. I mean, they always, I know they go, this book will make a person gay, or this movie will make a person gay. If they watch a certain Disney movie, it'll turn them gay. It's like, that is such BS, because, nothing could turn somebody gay.
It's stupidity.
It is stupid.
Well, literal stupidity.
It's stupidity for the people who actually believe it. The people who, sell it, they know that there's no legitimacy to it. So yes, it is stupidity, but it's stupidity on the people who actually buy it, and not the people who sell. The people who sell it knows it's stupid, knows that this book isn't going to turn somebody gay, knows this movie is not going to turn somebody into a transgender.
And the people who legitimately believe that crap.
Yes, there are people who legitimately believe that. believe that. And it's like, there has been several movies where people pretend to be dressed up in drag. Dustin Hoffman, Tootsie, Robin Williams and Mrs. Doubtfire. Anybody who played in a Shakespeare, who was in the original Shakespeare's plays.
Oh yeah, you gotta remember when acting started out, there were no women actors because that was considered shameful for a woman to do, but not a man. Don't ask me. I don't get it. I didn't live back then. But yeah, all of the characters in old plays were played by men, regardless of the character's gender.
Yeah, and the worst part about all this is many people have their constitutional rights taken away, like the right to peacefully assemble, the right to...
And that's scary because that's a big one.
The right to their beliefs, the right to be the person they want to be. I mean, that's not a constitutional right. There's nothing in the Constitution that says that, you know, I want to be a male, so I'm a male. My wife is a female, so she's a female. My kid may want to be a male, but she's a female. She was born female. There's no right that says you have to be the person, you know, you were. But, you know, it does affect your mental health as well. Then that's also the problem is that in several states, it doesn't matter what your mental health is. It doesn't matter if, you know, your kid is suicidal because they can't relate to who they are. It's just, you know, you were born female, you're a female. Well, okay, but that's sometimes not how the world works. I mean, we have animals that can spontaneously change gender. Certain frogs, yes. And so I'm going to play you another clip from the Drumhead, and this is Picard is on trial, and
we also have species that have no gender and asexually reproduce.
Exactly. I mean, God works wondrous deeds, and, you know, sometimes he creates animals that, you know, are outside the norm, are outside the box. Does that make them, you know, pedophiles? Does that make them horrible creatures? No. It just makes them nature.
I have a question. What the hell are these people gonna do when they run into actual alien life?
God forbid.
Since we're on the subject of Star Trek.
God forbid, because, you know, I really do not want to have an interstellar war, because I don't think we'd be on the winning side. But anyways, like I said, this is a scene from Star Trek, the Drumhead. It's the next generation. Picard is on trial, and and the animal goes off and says, I question you, I question your motivations, I question this. She brings up past indiscretions he's done. In case nobody knows, this Picard person was kidnapped by a cybernetic race and transformed into one of them.
The Borg.
Called the Borg. And he basically, you know, ran the Borg organization and destroyed like thousands of ships and killed thousands of people while being controlled by the Borg. And she brings that up, and that's probably a sore spot for him, as we find out. He says he's totally forgotten about them, but you can see later episodes and a whole new series called Star Trek Picard that he's less than truthful about being over at Borg. But he brings up an interesting point. This next clip I'm going to play for you, so I'll play for you now.
Oh, there are some words I've known since I was a schoolboy. But the first link of the chain is forged. The first speech censured, the first thought forbidden, the first freedom denied, chains us all irrevocably.
And he is 100% correct. I mean, the first time when we have legitimate suspicion, that's legitimate suspicion. But when we broaden it to the horrors of the Salem witch trials, the horrors of the Red Scare, we literally forged the link to for people not to have less freedom, for the Constitution to be just a piece of paper.
You know more about the Red Scare than I do, so I have a question. Did anybody lose their lives or anything because of it?
Oh, they lost their careers. Lots of
that could lead to losing your life, you know.
Yes, lots of Hollywood actors and actresses did lose their careers because they were blackballed because of the Red Scare. We also had this House Un-American Activities Commission, where basically, if you were called before the commission, you could testify against your friends or not. But, you know, if you arrived on the committee, your career was basically over, especially if it was a military career that you were in. So it's like you could hang yourself, you could hang your friends, but basically, if you were in the military, your career was basically over if you arrived in this committee.
And it didn't matter whether they were or not
It didn't matter. It's just,
So
suspicion.
so they could have like a neighbor who's intimidated by these people and told to give over people they know. They just name people they know, and then their lives are ruined too.
Well, they actually did some homework. I mean, they did look at some clubs like Freedom Now or something like that. But basically something like Freedom, ACLU, or Civil Liberties. Something around those lines that, would brought up red flags that said communist. But it's like, civil liberties? Freedom? My God, what are you going to demand next? Justice? And that's actually what kind of brought about the end of the Red Scare was McCarthy went after the military, and I think he actually went after the Justice Department as well. And by that time, it's like, yeah, where's your proof? Where's this list that you kept talking about? And when he couldn't produce it, they censored his butt.
Yeah, but they didn't throw him out, and they didn't arrest him.
No, well, you can't arrest them, but a sitting member of Congress. I mean, especially if they're
What if they're committing a crime?
Oh.
What if they're committing a crime?
Have you seen our current Congress people? We
watch them commit crimes on live TV. I mean, yeah.
We have a person who can't even tell us who he really is. We have a person who basically said, the Constitution be damned. We even had a sitting president who says that, parts of the Constitution should be suspended. And yeah, these people haven't been arrested. We had a Congress person who said that they would endorse a national divorce. That literally means leading to another civil war, folks.
So technically, they would be a traitor.
Yes, I mean this person basically.
But they're not being arrested for treason.
No, and I don't know if she actually meant civil war. She just said an amicable civil divorce. And it's like, how would you like to go about doing this? Because
South already tried that.
What?
The South already tried that.
Yes, and like I said, we have people who go off on this, and it's stuff like that leads to the Salem witch trials, the Red Scare, the 1980s AIDS epidemic that went out of control because, it was a gay disease.
I don't remember people being persecuted for that. I just remember nobody wanting to help with it or resolve it.
Kind of the same thing. I mean, think about how advanced we could have been with AIDS research if, they actually gave a crap.
Yeah, but they assumed it only affected a small section of the population until they realized that, no, it actually does affect everybody.
Well, everybody who has a blood transfusion or has sex without a condom. But yes, like I said, and I think we're seeing something like that today. I mean, people are being persecuted for doing nothing but, being themselves.
Yeah, doing nothing but existing.
Yeah, doing nothing but existing, and that's exactly what is going on. I mean, it's not like, they choose to be who they are. I mean, nobody chooses to be gay. Why would they want to? Why would they want to be persecuted like that? I never believed that being a part of the LGBT community was a choice. I always thought, it was what it was.
Before you persecute someone, ask yourself, would I want to be persecuted for being who I am?
Well, before you persecute anybody, remember what Jesus said, and that is...
Not everybody's Christian, though.
True, but even if you're not Christian, you should still read his things because,
well, yeah,
he made great points. He said, blessed are the poor. He said, blessed are the persecuted. And he also said, love one another as I have loved you. And he gave it, and he showed his love by dying on the cross, the most heinous symbol of the Roman times.
And I brought this stuff up to somebody who is one of those type of Christians who does say that thing, persecutes people and all that kind of stuff. And I brought this up, and they all quote me the Old Testament, and I'm like, yeah, but you're a Christian. You're supposed to follow Jesus. If you're gonna follow the Old Testament, guess what that makes you? Not a Christian.
Exactly.
At least if you're gonna ignore Jesus too, because that's what they're doing. They're only because it's convenient for them. If they're gonna listen to what Jesus put out there, then that makes what they're doing wrong. So they ignore that.
Well, they just don't ignore it. They also cherry pick it to the extreme. And you can see when they're cherry picking because it's like they read one part and then they just totally ignore the other part that makes it come together and says love. And it says, yeah, you should love people. And that is the basis of Christianity when you read the New Testament, is we're supposed to love one another as we would like to be loved. Jesus said, if somebody takes your cloak, offer him your tunic as well. If someone strikes you on the cheek, offer him the other one.
I say you're only a real Christian if you listen to Jesus.
Exactly, and once again, I'm apologizing to anybody who's not Christian. I am, and like I said, I do follow the teachings of Christ. That's why I have not gone up and smacked congresswoman, mayor, woman, whoever that I disagree with.
What was that one quote from Jesus that's sticking in my head? I can't remember the whole thing.
Well, maybe give me a clue. I could tell you.
You say you know me, and it'll come to me, when it's time to go. And you say you know me, but I don't know you.
Exactly, that is the quote.
Oh, I don't think that's the exact quote.
Well, it's close. It's like you say you know me, but I don't know you because you're not following what I'm saying. You didn't follow what I did. You didn't follow the example I set. And like I said, that is the example I think we need to follow, and not the, oh no, this person, we have this problem with this person, so now we gotta persecute all the people around that, because once we go down that path, we have 20 more people hanged. We have people who are sent to death row because they're gay, because they don't follow the norm. And if you think that's impossible, ask yourself, that's what they do in Russia. That's what they're gonna do in another country. And we're not too far.
Are they not afraid of the angry family members?
I don't think they give a crap. And I'd have no doubts whatsoever that the Texas Governor Greg Abbott or Tech Florida Governor Ron DeFascist can get away with it. They probably would have a death penalty for being part of the LGBTQ community, or even supporting the LGBTQ community. I am glad right now that I live in the great state of Oregon, where apparently we do have some sanity.
But for how long is the question?
That's a very good question.
Volunteer on your school board, people.
In the worst case scenario, sometimes the road to paranoia and fear and hatred leads to a regime that kills millions of people in concentration. And so I'm going to play you another clip, and this is after everything is resolved, and once again Picard makes a great point, so I'm going to play this clip for you.
Villains who twirl their mustaches are easy to spot. Those who clothe themselves in good deeds are well camouflaged. I think after yesterday, people will not be so ready to trust her. Maybe that she or someone like her will always be with us, waiting for the right climate in which to flourish, spreading fear in the name of righteousness. Vigilance, Mr. Wolf. That is the price we have to continually pay.
Picard is 100% correct. Vigilance is the price we have to pay for the liberties we enjoy. Because as one of our famous founding fathers said, those who would sacrifice whatever liberty we have for the sake of security deserves neither freedom nor security. I'm RJ Kelsay.
I'm Angie.
And if you want to follow us or, tell us we're totally wrong, tell us that we're fascists or communists or...
You can leave comments on our website at darkworldsconversations.com. You can also find us and message us on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook at RJ Kelsay. That's at RJKELSAY.
So join us next week as, once again, I'm RJ Kelsay.
And I'm Angie.
And have a great day.
You won't lose your individuality.